Hello, I am making my cheesy chips to go with our black bean dip that we made the other day. I think I told you that I would make them. I'm also going to be making them, so I'm making corn chips for my family, but I eat grain-free. And these are, I think they're almond flour. And this one, first one is Mikey's, it's cassava flour. And then this one is Siete, and it is an almond flour. So those are for me, and then I have corn ones for my family. Just plain tortillas. Theirs is La Banderita corn flour chips. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm using aquafaba. We've talked about this before. This is just the juice from a can of beans. I could make my own aquafaba, cook some beans, and this would just be the juice from the beans. So I'm going to use this just like an egg white. I'm going to brush it on the tortillas. You can use a pastry brush, but I actually find it easier just to spread it on with a spoon. So I'm going to put some on there, swirl it around. Maybe I should move it where you can see what I'm doing. Alright, so I got some on there. You can see it looks just like an egg white. This one curled up. I keep them in the freezer and it's still a little frozen, I think. It's one of those things that I don't eat that often. We're having appetizer night tonight. We're going to be eating that black bean dip. Alright, so this is what I'm going to do on all of the tortillas. Now I need to make my cheesy mixture. The first thing I'm going to use is nutritional yeast, and this is a Bragg's brand. There's I think there's Simple Truth Organic as well, and this is just, it's not a brewer's yeast. It is mostly B vitamins. It's grown in a certain way so that it's gluten-free. It's safe for most people. It's allergen-free for most people. It is a vegan alternative for most Parmesan cheese, things like that. And my daughter loves to put it on popcorn and sprinkle it on things. So we're going to be using a 1/4 cup today of nutritional yeast, a 1/2 tablespoon of chili powder, a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I don't always use salt, but chips have to have some salt. A 1/2 teaspoon of smoked paprika, 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder, and a 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. And then I'm going to throw in just a pinch, 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric just to give it some yellow flavor. Yellow color, not flavor. Alright, so I'm going to stir that up. This is our cheese and spices. If you don't have nutritional yeast, if it's hard to find where you are, just mix up the spices. It just won't have the cheesy flavor, but it will still have a delicious spiciness, so you can make it into chips. Alright, what I'm going to do on these I'm doing the grain-free ones first. I'm going to just sprinkle that over the top. And the aquafaba will help it just stick right to it. Then I'm going to flip them over. Do the same thing again. I have my spoon. Spread my aquafaba on top. That one's really curling. This is a good way to have some oil-free chips. We're going to be baking them instead of frying them. So it is a lot healthier. We can control the salt. We don't have any oil. Sprinkle some more on. Alright, now I'm going to take my pizza cutter and cut it into 6 slices. A little crooked, but that's alright. There we go. There are our grain-free chips. Now I'm going to do the corn chips the same way. Okay, you can see I could have been a lot more generous. I'm using the half teaspoon to sprinkle my cheese mixture on top. And so I'm going to go back and just add a little bit more. You can make some pizza flavored chips using some flour tortillas and almond flour tortillas. That would be delicious. Make all your own different flavors. Just use Italian seasonings and lots of garlic. That would be good instead of the Mexican seasoning. Alright, I'm going to cut these into 6. I preheated the oven to 375 degrees. And I'm going to put them in for 5 minutes. And then I'm going to flip them and then cook them for 5 more minutes. Okay, see those? Alright, I'm going to stick them in the oven. Okay, it's been 5 minutes. So now I'm going to flip them over. You can see they don't get much color, especially the grain-free. Usually the color comes from sugars, from starches and things like that, and there's just not a lot of sugar in the grain-free tortillas. Flip it. In the next 5 minutes, it will get crispy. And if it's not crispy, just leave it in a little bit longer. If you knock off too much of the cheese, just sprinkle a little bit more on. I think I'm going to add a little bit more to that one. It may or may not stick. I could always add a little bit more aquafaba, but I think that that'll be fine. Alright, so there is my first pan. See if I can slide it out of the way. So you can see my second pan. So this one, let's see. Just flip. They just want to fold. I didn't cut them all the way. I'll have to repair a little bit. But they're still moist enough to hold on some more cheese if you decide to add some more of the cheese. Be careful grabbing the pan. I'm grabbing the paper here. Luckily I haven't burnt myself yet. Sprinkle some more of the cheese. especially on the ones that I tore. Hide it with cheese. Okay, and then I'm going to stick them back in the oven for 5 more minutes. Okay, so they took a little bit longer than 5 minutes the second time. I want them to be nice and crispy. I'm going to let them sit for a few minutes and they'll crisp up and cool off. It's too hot to take a bite, but I wanted to show you. So here are our chips. The lighting. Trying to get a little better lighting. Anyway, they're kind of brown from the chili powder. Maybe these will look more like. You do have to keep an eye on them because they will burn quickly if you don't catch them. So I think I did 6 or 7 minutes the second time. 5 minutes the first time, 6 or 7 minutes the second time. Anyway, here they are. I will take a picture in a minute when I get them all grouped together. I'll keep the grain-free separate from the corn, but I'll show you in a minute.